Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Everyone to another episode of Outside the Panels. Well, the UK may have a new king, but I am still Johnny the Machine Hughes, bringing to you the latest projects kicking around comicdom. And this episode is no different. I have got an absolute peach of a book to talk about. And with that, I have two, count them, fantastic creators in the shape of Ollie Hicks and Emma Oosterhous. Ollie and Emma, how's it going?
Hi. It's going good, thank you. It's been a very rainy bank holiday, so it's all good in the UK.
It's absolutely, yes, very, 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 very wet. So there you go. That's cool. I forgot. Does that mean you're UK bound yourselves?
Yeah, I was just thinking we've done this at a US time, but we could have just done this at a normal time and not been tired.
What the? So for everyone who's listening, thinking, "Oh, I want to be on a podcast." Remember, right? One, I know more about time zones than Dr. Bloody Who. Two, helps to let me know. Don't use American PR firms if you're in Britain. Simple as. There you go.
I was so confused. I was like, what time? What time are we doing anything?
Well, the Crusaders and Undercover Capes is an American website, so everything's set to Eastern Standard Time, which is 5 hours before us. So cool. So whereabouts in the UK are you guys based?
Oxfordshire. I'm not from Oxford. I'm not really. Well, I was born in Oxfordshire, but I haven't lived in Oxfordshire for a really long time. So being in Oxfordshire now, I'm like, Oxfordshire. We met in Sydney, so I lived in Scotland for like 5 years when I was studying. So I was like, my heart is not in Oxfordshire.
I dated a mad Scottish woman once, and she was mad and she was Scottish, and that's all I'm going to say about the matter. So UK based. With a baseball book.
It's softball.
All right, okay. There's a bus heading your way. You're going to get thrown under it. Are you ready? So before we started, these two said they didn't know anything about sports, and now they corrected me on is it baseball or softball.
Okay. We do know that.
We do know that much.
All right, okay. So why softball? Why softball is the kind of Deus Ex Machina for your book?
So the story of how this comic came to be is we had been dating for a while, and we were both comics creators of like our own individual stuff. And we were like, we should work on something together. I wanted to do a magical girl comic, and you wanted to do a sports comic. And I was like, okay, I don't really know much about sports. Do you? Like, what sport should we do? I was like, I know tennis because like I grew up playing tennis, and I at least know how to play it. And
to be fair, like being British, I also know a bit of tennis with Wimbledon going on, like a little.
Tennis fans across the world are shaking their head thinking Wimbledon is not the only tennis game going on. Right?
My dad's a tennis coach. He's shaking his head. But yeah, you were like, no tennis. It's got to be softball because
they have the coolest uniforms.
Yeah, I'll go that. Yeah.
No. I'll fight you on this one. Like tennis is like okay, but like softball, the uniforms are just really, really cool. Like the 40s, they got that sort of 40s style situation going on. I love the little trousers set up, like the slightly more old-fashioned softball uniform. I think it's just so cute. And I was like, that's what I want.
You are talking to a guy who watches tennis for the short skirts, of course. So that's.
I was like, tennis skirts are not cool. I don't want that in my comic.
Yeah, for myself. Anyway, okay. So yeah, when I think about baseball in comic books, I am invariably drawn, or softball, invariably drawn to the DC Bombshells, Batwoman. She's got like the whole.
She has
50s,
got a cool.
Yeah.
She has a cool uniform. Yeah. Actually, I don't think I made it. I read a couple of issues of Bombshells. I don't know how early on Batwoman, because they sort of released all the covers and then they sort of were slowly sort of introducing them throughout the series. So I'm not sure if I actually got up to the Batwoman sort of arc, but yeah, that was a cool look. But like, I want to say like the modern day though. That's the only difference. There's no actual superheroes. There's just magical girls. That's the only difference though.
Baseball is the setting. Softball is the setting. I'll get it right. I will get it right. I promise. I've got 40 minutes. I'm sure I'll get it right at least once. So softball is the setting. From my understanding of the book, it is kind of it's about characters coming of age, falling in love, falling out of love, working together, not working together, and that screams team. And I think softball pretty much encapsulates that. So I think as a method, as a vehicle to get to where you want, as a method to get around the bases, softball's the one.
Well,
yeah, if you want, it's fine.
I think obviously softball is the sport that I chose to be my personal burden of pain as I wrote this script, not knowing anything about sports. But I think about sports is like they are such a fun vehicle to use to it's sort of like I always bore Emma with this by saying it's sort of like a musical. Like, so musicals are like, can you tell I'm a musical theater kid? I'm like, oh, it's really just like a musical. But like musicals are like, you have the emotion and then the heightened emotion bursts into a song. And so in like a sports, so like what for me is like, you have the heightened emotion, you have the off-field drama, and then that sort of bursts into the song of the match.
Oh my God.
You thought you were getting like Troy from High School Musical on this, and you've got Sharpie on this podcast.
We're all in this together. And you'll see that. Is that not it? Yeah? I'm sure that's the words. I'm sure I'm pretty much up there.
I was surprised by how many words. You probably know slightly more words to that song than I do, because I'm a breaking free person.
We're all together once we know that we're starved. We're all gonna see that. That's how it goes. All right, we're talking about this book, Grand Slam Romance. This is the PS, the Resistance. It's all backdrop going on. I've taken it. Where have I taken this from?
That's Emma's website.
Emma's website. Yeah, sorry, Emma.
That's okay.
Yeah. All right. So, Ollie, you write, Emma, art?
I draw, yeah.
Yeah. So, I did a little bit of checking, and you guys, husband, is that right? There's a husband. Yeah. I was like, I had looked this up. I was like, what is a husband? I was like, what? So
yeah,
so I get it. I understand.
Yeah,
so how is it being together and then working together? Because I mean, I love my wife dearly, but working on something together, even cooking food, is a tense situation. You know what I'm saying?
I will say that we do not successfully cook food together. That's a separate.
Well, one person in the kitchen at a time.
At a time, yeah. But do you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think that I really like working with you. It's way different to how I've ever worked on anything before, because I, for most of my life, was like very solitary in my creations, and I wrote and drew everything, like all of my comics myself. Didn't really consult with anybody, like, and I had never worked on something with somebody before we started doing Grand Slam in 2019. And I think that we work together pretty well. Like, it is helpful to like share an office and just be able to like turn to you and say, like, what did you mean by this?
What's wrong with you? Why did you write this?
Why have you done this?
Why do I have to draw?
The amount of terrible things Emma has to draw in this. Like, I feel like every single thing an artist famously hates drawing is in this book.
Helicopters.
Not helicopters, but horses.
Don't give them
Yeah, no spoilers, please. Thank you. All right, so tell us. So we know that softball, got it right, is the kind of way we're going. Talk to us about the characters. Who's involved in the actual the story? You know, who would like to start? And Ollie, you're the writer. Take it away.
Take it away.
Well,
then Emma can jump in with the stylings of said piece.
Well, so I write the script, but we like come up with the storylines and the characters together. So we sort of developed these. It started off with these two characters we sort of developed, and one was sort of like Mickey Monsoon, who's our main character, who's sort of like this scrappy hotshot, hot guy pitcher, and they're like about to sort of win the statewide softball tournament. They're like really close to finally winning this tournament.
Sort of hometown hero, like everybody loves them. They're cool and
like soul of the earth, kind of like scrappy, local. And then you have Astra Maxima, who's just the complete opposite. She's like this magical girl. She's got superpowers. She's really arrogant. She's really reckless. She's super flirty, and she's really confident. And it's like if Mickey's like kind of all like not like bluster, because there is like heat behind it that they can back it up, but they're sort of like very like agitated and angry all the time. And Astra's very cool and confident and collected. And it sort of started with these like sort of these two opposite ends of the spectrum characters, but they have a dramatic backstory, because like I feel like every gay who's known each other for longer than 5 years has a dramatic backstory with each other. So they have like a dramatic backstory, but they haven't seen each other for 8 years. So it's like sort of like a lot of sort of like past drama that's sort of like connecting them and sort of driving the rivalry throughout these games, these musical numbers, these games.
The tenor and pitch of the thing. So you've got these two characters. Emma, how do you then go about creating these two different kind of characters, and yet at some point still have to make them gel together, whether that be, no spoilers, together or teamwork together?
Is that a question for me?
Yes, it was. You
mean like visually the creation process? I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember creating an Astro. It was a long time ago.
We created this comic initially in like 2019, and then like there was like a whole pandemic, and we sort of have we sort of lost a lot of our, I think, long-term and short-term memory as a result of that. So sometimes we're like, but can I sort of start on your journey to answer this question?
Get me going.
Stylistically, they have like visual motifs which Emma's worked out for the characters.
Oh, okay, cool.
Mickey is hearts. I'm like, it's like I'm trying to coax the baby bird out. So like Mickey
and
has
this everyone, as you're watching, this is the creative process in my class. In effect, this is how it works. Go.
I'm like, you're gonna, by the end we started at this off being like, we don't know anything about sports, and now Emma doesn't seem to actually know anything about the design of our characters. By the end, you did not write this. You
did. Get out. Get the ringers.
We really should have done this earlier in the day, huh?
Well, I know I'm sober.
Okay, but yeah. So I think
let me help you out. I'll help you out a little bit, because you sent me some art. There you go.
Yeah, so I wanted Mickey to be sort of like edgy, like they've got a little bit of like an ex-scene kid vibe. The initial drawings of Mickey, they were kind of like spiky, kind of like tough and like all sort of hard angles, and Astra is very like soft and flowy. She's sort of tall and willowy, and she's got this like giant pink hairdo. And I wanted them to just look sort of, I mean, you like when people in a pairing like look different from one another. Like you like opposites, sort of like a really tall and a really short person.
Yeah, like I'm very short. So I was like, I think Emma drew Mickey as like a normal tall person at one point early on. And I was like, actually, no, I love a short king. Mickey needs to be quite short, and then Astra can just be like billowing and towering over them. And obviously I'm like the short guy in the relationship, and Emma's like much taller than me. But I was just like, this is like, to me, a fun dynamic, because I like to have like one in every duality, like, you know, like in a lot of sports animes, you have like these two opposite characters that sort of bounce off each other, and like I feel like it's a really classic that one's sort of short and stocky and one's sort of tall and willowy.
And also like just characters having like symbols or colors that they're associated with, like that I think plays heavily in the Grand Slam design. Like different characters will have different symbols, like a heart, a star, a diamond, a moon. or whatever, and like different sort of core colors of like their outfits and stuff.
Cool.
So,
it's funny you talk about short and tall. All I can think of now is C-3PO and R2-D2 from Star Wars.
another classic anime pairing.
That's all I'm saying.
Batman and Robin, like all of the short, tall pairings.
Yeah, I get that, Batman and Robin. Yeah,
Luigi and Mario.
They're both short.
No, Luigi's taller though.
I think. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I own 3 games. That's not 3. I own 3 games in the world. Madden's 16. Sorry, it's a sports game. And then the others that I own have the word Batman and Arkham in the title.
I love Batman Arkham games.
So that's it. They're the only ones I own. That's it. My wife has more games than I have. So I'm not a gamer. Although having my wife shout for me the other room, Johnny, which Lego character stretches? Also means she's not that much of a gamer either. I'm going to pay for that later. All right. What was the reason? Because of the characters themselves, they're gay, they have relationships. What was the point? The reason for that? Is it to get more diversity in the comic book world? Is it to try and make a point? Is it just write what you know? I don't know. I don't understand. Well, I do, but so from your point of view, how's that why is that road traveled, as it were?
I mean, I think it's what we enjoy writing and what we want to write about and what we want to read more of. Like, I used to read a lot of superhero comics, and then I sort of slowly migrated to just reading like a lot of queer stuff because I was just like, you know what, that's kind of my world, and that's what I enjoy reading. And I don't think that like I feel like there was never any question that we were gonna create something together that wasn't gay. That just wasn't even a thought in our minds. It was obvious. It was always going to be gay.
Yeah. Like good. we make queer art.
Yeah, that's what we make anyway.
I've checked the website out. I know.
In case you weren't aware. But no, we came up with this story, and it was never meant to be a graphic novel from the very beginning. It was originally like a 19-page like short comic that we just sort of made for the small press Scottish comic scene, and people liked it. And we, made stuff that we went crazy for and that we knew that our friends were going to go crazy for. And then it ended up getting picked up, and we had to sort of expand the world. But it was only ever, like, from its inception, a story that just was something fun and meant a lot to you and me and our friends.
I will say this wholeheartedly. I think when any relationship comic, whether it be gay, queer, LGBTQ, straight, whichever version you're going to go with, as long as it's done honestly, then to me it doesn't matter. I get that representation is important, and it absolutely totally is. People have to see themselves represented in art, in media, in culture. Of course they do. But for me, it has to be honest. One of my favorite books of all time is Sunstone by Stefan Seach, and it's about bondage lesbians. Now, when I picked it up the first time, I had no idea what I was looking at, other than two people falling in love. If you take out all the bondage out of that book, I would still buy that book, because it's about two people falling in love, and that's the magic of that book. Don't get me wrong, the bondage stuff's fun to look at, but at the core of it, it's the two people. And I see that reflected in this, in Grand Slam Romance. It's the softball's fun and all, but it's the drama between the two characters that are important. Does it strike me that they're gay? Not at all. Does it bother me that they're gay? Not at all.
It might strike me that they're gay as you start to get further into it, because it's but like I think it's like for like a romance comic, for like any sort of romance comic, what people are sort of drawn to is like a sort of honest narrative, something that sort of, I mean, for me, I feel like it's important to sort of replicate elements of like to be honest about human emotion. That's something you're always striving for as a writer. But I think part of the honesty in Grand Slam is that I do feel that we are specifically trying to sort of put a queer lens on romance. And I don't think that's to say that, and that's definitely not saying straight people, you're not going to get this comic, because you are going to get this comic. But I think we also wanted to put in lots of stuff, lots of jokes for like other queer people to sort of be like, I don't know, show what it's like for us and to sort of celebrate that.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
and
perfect.
No, we love love, and I think it is really important for us to celebrate queer love and queer joy, and having like a sort of, I'm not gonna quite say like mainstream, but yeah, a little bit like a larger platform than I ever could have, imagined that we'd have as small press creators, like to do that and to like have this book be out just in the world for like anybody to find is really cool and really important.
Right, because like as I grew up, I loved watching romantic comedies with my sister, and we were just like, all the Katherine Heigl comic, like of that time period, like 27 Dresses, whatever.
Whoa. See, this is what bugs me about doing pods, when people say, when I was younger, and then say Katherine Heigl, who was like only last year practically, you're talking to someone who's seen every season of Grey's Anatomy, so like, no, just watch where you're going with Katherine Heigl.
When baby Katherine Heigl, may she someday was like in romantic comedies, and I really I love romantic comedies, and I still love romantic comedies. I still love watching like Working Girl and stuff like that.
Working Girl is great. Love that film.
Realized I was gay, something that kind of bothered me was that I just couldn't find like a gay romantic comedy, and like I kind of wanted to have the feeling of that, but with queer characters and stuff. And like obviously there are queer romantic comedies out there. Shout out to Debs. But I think like something was that I wanted to really contribute to romantic, like to the great tiny canon of queer romantic comedies, and just do something joy, because like I like, there's not enough joy in the world, and I feel like I just want something that's joyful and silly and goofy, and it's gay, and people can just sort of enjoy it. And that to me is where my heart is as a writer, is writing about these sort of joyful stories and celebrating stuff like the love between friends, like the love between nemesis, the hatred love, like all that sort of messy sort of stuff that happens, the situationship, like all those sort of messy things. I just wanted to write about them and sort of cram them into a book.
And you did that.
Just about.
Right. Before, there's a couple of things I'm going to pick up after the break, because I've just made a couple of notes there. That was a really great explanation. It is time for one of our adverts. Let me see what we've got. Do you guys like K-pop?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Did you see my eyes light up?
There you go, K-Pop Cosmos from Freya and Marky Mark, a monthly pod that drops all about K-pop, man. When they said, we've done an advert, I was like, yes, get in! And then there's no fishnets in it, and I was like, well, that's for me, but never mind.
I was excited to see Twice. I was like, oh my gosh, you could, I'm done now for the night. I'm like, give me some applesauce and send me to bed. I'm like, just like, whoa, I got to see Twice. This is the best podcast ever.
Right, Emma, talk to me about the art, because Ollie's been absolutely fantastic explaining the dynamic of the writing and how the characters have their journey to go through. The art style that you've used is quite prevalent currently. Was it your intent to be kind of on point, on trend with this sort of thing, or is this your style, your bespoke style from the get-go?
Yeah, so this is actually a sort of, I had never done a comic that looked like this before. I tend to gravitate, I think, towards like limited color palettes. I had never ever done anything this like highly rendered before in my life. And we originally wanted this comic to be in black and white with like little sort of pops of pink. And then I think throughout the design and the pitching and just the development of it, we decided, you know, with our editorial team, like, hey, this comic actually would look great in full color. And that was like the scariest thing ever for me, because I had never really done a full color comic like this before. It was not in my comfort zone, and I felt like I had a lot of sort of learning to do and like catching up to do and just like frantically like learning on the job. Like we say this about pretty much every single part of this process, but it's like Wallace and Gromit, like putting down the train tracks.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Down at full speed. That's what it felt like, sort of doing the art for this book. I think it just developed naturally, the style of it, with how I drew before, and then I was also learning a lot just because like I was getting so much, you know, practice drawing. Like you improve a lot when you are doing something a lot. I had never been able to draw like for this long and this like sort of uninterrupted amount of time before I started doing this book, because art was not my day job.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was, you know, a student, and I was just like working other jobs before we got this book deal. And then like getting that advance allowed me to quit my job and focus on, focus on the book full time, which was really,
living the dream.
I know. It was amazing. And just like drawing all day, every day, it was fun and it was stressful. But I feel like I learned so much just, you know, doing 229 pages of comics start to finish, like, and I'd never done that before. So I felt like I was like improving every like 20 pages or so. You can like see. And I like that you can see the journey.
Yeah, it's good. I
to do like finished pages at the beginning of the book before I could pencil the rest of it, because they needed them for like marketing and some other stuff, just like internally. And I was really, really scared to do those pages, because I was like, I don't know if this is how I want it to look, but I had to just sort of commit. And then that ended up being like informing the style of the rest of the book, obviously, but then it did sort of change a little bit from beginning to end, which I think is cool to see.
Definitely.
Consistency is not like a super big priority of mine.
When I speak to writers, Ollie, I always hear how there's like variations in scripts and how things change from the written page as you think of it versus the actual production page when you see it. Emma, I'm assuming the same goes for yourself, in that you must have reams and reams of work that you think at the time looked absolutely the bee's knees, but then you go back and you're like, and then do the whole thing again, right?
I love to make just the most work for myself. I'm notoriously bad at this. Like, I have wanted to just redo pretty much every comic I've ever made. And even now I'm working on Grand Slam 2, like, because this is a series now. And so I'm drawing the second book. And I'm like, you know, going back through the first book, flipping through for reference. And I'm like, dang, if I could redo that page, like, here's all this stuff I would change if I could do the first book over again. Which is ridiculous, because I'm the most proud of it that I've ever been of anything in my life. But still, I'm just like, you never stop improving and learning.
Tell me about it. I doodle for fun. And I'll draw something, and I'll think, oh yeah, it looks all right, and I'll go back to it, and then I'll ink 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 it, and then continue on. And before I know, I've just got a big black mess. And going, I went a little bit too far.
Yeah, at some point you just gotta say it's done, like it's good enough, and everybody else is gonna think that it looks fine. And you know, I'm my own worst critic. I think. I hope there's nobody out there my stuff being meaner to me than I am.
Yeah, maybe. Let me ask you a quick question then. To the pair of yous on this one. Way back in the distant past, my brother and I decided we'd try and put together a comic book, and he found it really frustrating because I'd have like the issue scripted, and then I'd hand him the script, and then he'd start drawing while I went and played video games. Because the art can take a little bit longer sometimes than the pencils. So how do you two manage to kind of, I suppose, balance that out? Because there'll be times, Ollie, I assume that that's it, I'm done. Get me the champers, I'm done. Next. And Emma's still like 2 panels away on page 2.
Down in the mines, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess part of it is that like
someone buys the takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, it never truly is done for me either, because like on the one hand, I think that just sort of like as any comics person, you love the process. Like to me, the whole process is so exciting. So I love the thumbnail stage. I love looking at the ink stage. I love looking at the colors and the ink, and like I'm always just pouring over the different stages when Emma finally, like when Emma does them, I'm always
finally. Ooh, look at the look you just got there.
Like, when Emma completes the stage, that like, and she's a very fast artist. It's because of how long I make these wretched scripts. But when she completes the stage, I get to sort of pour over it. But also, Emma exists on a diet of compliments, and so every single day I look at whatever has been done, I sit down and I give her lots and lots of compliments. And that is also our marriage advice to people. Like, whatever your partner's doing, give them compliments. Turns out people like compliments.
Fair enough.
As a British person, this was very foreign to me for quite a while, and now I'm like, oh yeah, compliments are really nice.
Compliments work. Hey, look at that.
This is my like full-time job. I'm doing it all day, every day. And you sort of you will script a book like in a short burst. And then you do other stuff mostly as your day job.
Yeah.
So this is like a side hustle for you. And it's a very important side hustle, but like the bulk of the work is mine.
Yeah.
I feel like I've created a little schism there. I didn't mean that.
No.
Nah.
Yeah. If I get cited in divorce papers, I'm not turning it.
Emma's aware this is a side hustle for me.
Fair enough. So then another question, because I speak to, for some reason, I don't know why it is, I speak to a lot more writers than I do artists.
We love to talk about ourselves, that's why.
It's because sometimes artists can't vocalize what they feel inside because they're so used to doing things visually, from what I understand, but what do I know? This is a side hustle for me too. What was I going to say? So, Emma.
Yes.
In my experience, writers tend to be mini editors. Is that the case here?
I would say that I am actually more your editor.
Excellent.
Because I'm there like peeping over your shoulder, like I'm not actually sure that line of dialogue works. Like,
of course, you're a writer as well, Emma. That's right. You've done your own stuff. So then, the flip of that, Ollie, is then how do you deal with controlling pants next to you there, giving it all like I'm gonna take over Ted. I can do this.
Oh, I hate it so bad. But after years of meditation, I now sort of just about grin and bear it, because like any writer, I need to write in order to be seen by people, but then also I hate being like receiving any sort of constructive criticism as a result of that. So I am a little bit like how could it not be perfect straight away? But that's why you do multiple drafts, and nothing's ever perfect straight away.
Yeah, it is.
Obviously, I'm sure that.
So when I review comic books for Comic Crusaders, you get one draft and that's it. You'll get one draft. I'll check it for spelling mistakes and that's it. Done. Next. You know, there goes 400 words of my life. You're not getting that. And hence you wonder why I never made it as a writer. There we go.
But we've worked out a system. We worked out a system to like to say when constructive criticism is acceptable, like when in the drafting process I'm allowed to come in and like sort of edit, and when you are allowed to come in and be like, hey, I think that looks wonky and could we add this in the background or something. Like we have to have very sort of specific dedicated times in the creative process, because it's not fun if you're just constantly like nitpicking each other. So I think we've developed these boundaries over the course of 1.5
I'm sensing like a safe word type of thing going on. Yeah, if you say a safe word, it means you can say something without getting like back.
Well, it is a really weird sort of relationship, because obviously we are married and we live together and we work together from home, and so I think like having just dedicated sort of times to be like, okay, we're in work mode and we're in like editing mode and we're in compliments mode, and now we're putting the work away and we're in wife mode. Is like, you have to have, I think, the boundaries between like the work and the.
It's a good shout.
Yourself saying.
It's a good shout indeed. You both have websites kicking around. Let's have a look. We'll have a look at a couple of them. Give me 2 seconds whilst I do the all magic stuff here. What do I want to do?
That's not what you're going to pull up.
That's not the first time I've heard that in the pod. Keep it clean. All right, first up, there we go.
Hey.
Comics. Right. Ollie, this is yours, right?
Yeah, this is my one.
Excellent, cool. So, people who check out your website, what can they expect to?
Well, you'll see the Grand Slam Romance cover, because, like, obviously I'm super proud of it. But you'll see my own work. So I have my own sort of short. So I do sort of small press comics. But I sort of am just currently, I think, working on a series called The Butch Bros Versus, and it's about it started off in the Shortbox Comics Fair last year, and it's about two butchers, and they are friends, and they sort of go on like now I'm like, am I a writer? They sort of like they're like best friends, and they always end up in like sort of challenges that they can solve sexily. And sort of, it's like just comedy comics. So the first one is they go to a skate park, and the second one is they have to quit their job. And it's just like, just a really, I just love himbos and sort of like just people being strong. And
you love writing about goofballs.
Goofballs who are in love with each other. I love that stuff. And then you'll just also see some of my own art and just more of my comics work. And this is what I do by myself.
Do they know that they're in love with each other? Or is this a queer as folk type of thing where one fancies the other in a kind of unrequited manner?
No, I think they're like platonically friends with benefits, and they maybe don't realize how deep their feelings for each other quite go. But there isn't like a lot of tension in the actual, like, there's always external stresses. They're like very comfortable with where they're at with each other, which is they're like friends who smooch and cuddle and go to bed together, and they sort of just each other's best friends.
Fair enough. It works for me. Cool. It's interesting that we have those types of characters. We need those characters because we have them in our real lives. We have those, those people that that we would do anything for. So
yeah,
it's nice that they get
nice.
some recognition.
You put it into a nice way. Like I'm like,
yeah. What can I say? Maybe I've got something in this whole PR writing thing going on. Maybe I could do something like this. Who knows? We've already had a quick look, but we'll check out Emma's again. So this is Grand Slam Romance. Some absolutely lovely comments, I think, that kind of speak well of your work as a pairing as well. So you've got Dyke Drama Magic and a heavy dose of queer horniness. Put me in, coach. Yeah, very, very Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
funny, flirtatious, and fantastical. There you go. very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. So
sorry, Emma, you were going to say
right
something.
as we look at it.
I was reading.
Oh, sorry. Do you want me to go back? Are you happy with that now? Yeah.
No, it's okay. I have these quotes tattooed on my body so I can look at them at all times for strength and happiness. But no, they are just like the really nicest, sort of best quotes. And like, because when you're working on a graphic novel or any type of novel, probably really, you're sort of working in isolation. Like, it really is like like I wrote the first draft of it 2 years ago now, so it's really been like 2 years of about 5 to 8 people in the world knowing about this comic and reading this comic, and then suddenly, you know, other people coming in and saying, hey, I read it too and I actually really enjoyed it. You're like, oh, finally, like because it is just a really long journey making graphic novels.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
No, you know, it looks great, and we've got so many people who you mentioned earlier. The book is maybe not aimed perfectly at, but people within the whole LGBTQ plus sector picking up the book and seeing it, enjoying it for the promise and the recognition and the pride that it brings to the various lifestyles. So that must give you like an absolute, you know what, we've absolutely hit it out of the park.
Yeah, it is really, really gratifying to like see other people pick it up and be like, this comic was great.
I mean, like,
that's why we do it.
Yeah, it's like, you know, people that you respect and look up to in the industry as well, who've taken time out of their day to write some nice things and read your book when everyone's really busy. Like Britta London, like I've watched Riverdale for like 1,000 years, so like having someone who's worked on Riverdale, knowing that they've read my stuff, I'm just like that is like I'm a massive like Archie Comics fan. I'm just like, I'll die happy forever knowing about that. Like that's
So then what we're saying is that Betty should be with Veronica. Forget
yes.
Archie. Is that what we're saying? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's like honestly, I think such the basis of like like the Grand Slam, I feel like relationship is that like, because like, okay, if you've got 5 minutes, Veronica's like one of the most good characters in comics, because I feel like I'm okay with Veronica and Archie. I'm happy with that. I love Betty and Veronica. But I think the fact is that Veronica is ultimately always going to be the loser, because she's not the type of character that we're supposed to reward in like a moral narrative, because she's like rich and she's obsessed with herself and she's pretty. And I'm like, no. Actually, that girl does deserve the world, and I'm gonna give it to her right now. And so I think, to me, like, I always, those sort of mean femme characters in fiction are always sort of like the underdog, because you're supposed to root for like the good, boring girl. And I'm like, no, actually, those characters are the ones who deserve everything. So I think like a lot of me writing sort of like a rivalry, or one of the characters sort of is like mean, hot femme. It's like, I want to give this girl everything. I'm dedicating this book to the bad girls. I see you, and I see you
Veronica.
for the Veronicas. I see you, whether it's Betty, whether it's Archie, whether it's Cheryl, whether it's Mitch. I see you. You deserve her. Like,
fair enough. Fair enough. Good shout.
It's a very direct, I think, through line from your
you can follow Ollie on social media. There you go.
If you need more of these opinions,
I'm adding you to my Twitter straight away after this. I'm like, there, add. Of course, Instagram is there as well. Emma, not to be outdone, also has a Twitter and an Instagram. Check those out. There you go. I have to say, I've thoroughly enjoyed having you on the show today. It's been fantastic. My final question is, what did you do for the coronation? Did you do anything, or did you avoid it like the plague?
I worked. We worked.
You worked. I avoided it like the plague, so that's fine.
Yeah, I think my task for the coronation, I wrote some like stereotypical British characters. I was like, this is how I'm celebrating the coronation.
Yeah. If down the line one of the characters gets crowned the home run champ, I know when that was written. All right.
Yeah, no.
Not that I'm saying anything.
We were working the coronation. When you're like freelance, every day is work.
We actually didn't know that it was happening.
Yeah, I thought it was today. And then like, you know, this woman comes in, and I was like this angelic chorus side coming through my window. I was like, it's the Corey Bob today.
The Corey Bob. Bless. All right. Ollie, Emma, been fantastic. Thank you for spending the time with me. I really do appreciate it. Your book looks great.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait to see it in full, rather, and see what happens. You never know. I might get the softball thing. Might prefer it over MLB.
Hopefully we'll learn something about softball.
Don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favorite shows, including you saw the trailer for it earlier. It is K-pop Cosmos for everything that's K-pop. And of course, if you like your comics a little bit more mature, check out the Old Timers Comic Book Show with its recent Guardians of the Galaxy special following the release of Volume 3. There you go. Ollie, Emma, thanks again. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
It's been great.
You're more than welcome. And I've been your host, Johnny Machine Hughes. And as always, adios.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.shop, all about comic pop culture.